Why we sometimes like the villains. Most movies have heroes. Sometimes, though, we like the villains more. Why is this? Studies have shown that we often like villains when they are similar to us. We're drawn to the qualities they share with us, like being smart or strong. We also admire them because they're free and don't follow the rules. Being drawn to villains doesn't make us evil, though. It shows we all have a dark side. Through villains, we can learn about it. Another reason why people like villains is because they're complicated. Sometimes we dislike heroes because they're too perfect. On the other hand, many bad guys have stories that show they're not perfect. Because we also make mistakes, we can understand them. These days, some villains have their own movies. There's Maleficent, which is about the evil fairy from Sleeping Beauty, and Joker, which is about Batman's enemy. Although we would never do what these villains do, we're still curious about them. They let us explore our complicated selves in a safe way.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Chickling.
And I was just watching a really, really good movie. You like watching movies too, right?
I do.
Yeah, what are some of your favorite types of movies?
I usually spend time watching thrillers.
Okay. Romantic movies?
Not that much. I kind of
much.
like something that's more violent. I might have problems.
Or maybe what about action movies, superhero movies? Do you like those? Like Marvel?
Not that
Not that kind of violent.
I think you are, right?
Yeah, I actually quite enjoy some relaxing and chill movies. Like Marvel movies are quite fun. But what's really great about these movies is there's always the good guy and the bad guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, sometimes they have a lot of fun bad guys or good bad guy characters that I really like. So yeah, and this is perfect because we're going to be looking at the article today. It's talking about villains. It's why we sometimes like the villains. Yeah, I want to know what's the psychology behind it. Is it because they're cool or they always have better makeup? I don't know, but
they just look very cool to me.
They just are cool, I think. Yeah, so some movies have really cool villains. Let's read the article to find out why some of us might like these types of characters. Now, the article first says, most movies have heroes. Sometimes, though, we like the villains more. And then, why is this? Okay, that is so me. Basically, we see the word villain. Villain is the main bad character in the story, play, movie, etc. Sometimes they're also called the antagonist of the story, or they can be also known as the anti-hero, the opposite of a hero.
OK, 所以 villain 其实就是故事或戏剧里面的反派角色。那其实大多数的电影我们大家都会有英雄嘛，可是有时候我们会更喜欢反派，这是为什么呢？ We tend to like the bad guys.
Yeah, I do. I like kind of bad people. A little bit just quickly off the top of my head, there's a lot of great villains in movie history, like Darth Vader, if you watch Star Wars, or if you watch the newer ones, it's Kylo Ren. I think about James Bond and their villains, Thanos from the Marvel movies, Voldemort from Harry Potter. So we have a lot of really cool villains. Do you have any villains that you like?
Have you watched The Walking Dead?
Not yet.
Okay, I love that show, and my favorite character is definitely Negan.
Okay. He must be really cool.
So cool and so bad, so
and
cruel and so attractive. Maybe that's the point.
Yeah, why are all the villains always so handsome? Gosh.
超帅.
Yeah. All right, well, let's continue reading. It says, studies have shown that we often like villains when they're similar to us.
原来所以研究表明当反派与我们人比较相似的话，我们就会觉得比较喜欢他们。I don't trust that because you're such a good guy. You're such a good person.
We're good people.
And
or
why?
Are we deep down really bad?
So we're secretly bad people.
We're secretly maybe bad people. That's why we like villains.
Maybe.
Okay, I still need to learn a bit more, okay? The article says, we're drawn to the qualities they share with us, like being smart or strong. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, we don't always have to be bad, but then they possess maybe other good qualities like being smart or strong. Now we see the word quality here. It's a noun and it means a thing that is part of a person's character, especially something good. For example, we can say always arriving to events and meetings on time is one of Stephanie's best qualities. Yes.
Okay, so quality 呢就是人的特性或特质，也可以有品质、素质的意思，所以可以说 to have a quality of， 它就是说有什么样的品质的意思。This product has a quality of durability, making it long-lasting and reliable. 或者是说什么东西是有品质的，我们也会说 be of quality。比如说 the material used in this garment is of quality, ensuring comfort and durability.
Next it says, we also admire them because they're free and don't follow the rules. Okay, yes, I think that is totally me. I don't like being tied down, or I don't really like following the rules sometimes. So here we see the word admire. Admire is a verb and it means to respect somebody for what they have done or to maybe respect them for their qualities. Like, for example, we might admire singers for their singing voice, or maybe actors for their ability to maybe portray a character very well. You can even admire someone close to you, like someone that you know, like your mom or dad, for maybe how much or how hard they work. For example, we can use admire in a sentence like this. Mr. Huang, my Chinese teacher, is someone that I greatly admire because of his patience and passion.OK,
所以呢 admire 就是欣赏钦佩哦。那我们常常如果说你钦佩某一个人因为他的什么特质，你就可以说 to admire someone for something。比如说 I admire her for her determination in pursuing her dreams despite facing numerous challenges. 所以被赞赏呢就是可以说一个 be 动词加上这个 D 变成被动语态。He is admired for the elegance of his writing. 所以呢，其实我们呢会欣赏这一些坏蛋，是因为他们也是自由的，不会觉得好像常常要遵循规则的感觉，就很酷。
Next it says, being drawn to villains doesn't make us evil though. It shows we all have a dark side. Through villains, we can learn about it.
所以但是 OK， 大家就要谁想一下，被反派吸引，就像Tiffany 啊，跟我啊，我们都喜欢坏蛋，但不代表我们是坏人，不代表我们很邪恶，只是我们每个人都有黑暗的一面，所以通过反派呢 we can maybe learn more about ourselves.
Yeah, like maybe we can learn about the dark side of us and how not to become that probably, or maybe not to become so mean. All right, next it says, another reason why people like villains is because they're complicated.Complicated means not simple, they're complex. For example, it's not easy to study the human brain because it's so complicated. Humans are able to process emotions, and there's so much more to what goes on inside of our heads.
Complicated 就是很复杂的，所以人们喜欢反派的另外一个原因是因为很复杂，所以就是makes it more interesting.
I think it makes them an even more interesting character because it's just like not just one layer to them. There's like many layers to them and you're like, ooh, that's why they want to kill this person or that's why they want to do these things. So I think that's maybe also the reason why we're so attracted to them. Next, the article says, sometimes we dislike heroes because they're too perfect. Here we see the word dislike.It's a verb and it means to not like. And usually when we dislike something, it just means we do not like it. But if you, for example, feel like very, 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 very strongly about something, we might use the word hate. But again, hate is a very strong word to show that you truly do not like that thing or a person a lot. Okay, here we can use dislike in a sentence like this. George really dislikes rainy days because his socks and shoes always get wet.Same here, George.
所以呢 dislike 就是不喜欢，所以 she dislikes the taste of mushrooms 代表她不喜欢 she doesn't like the taste of mushrooms 那被厌恶也是一样，你就加一个 be 动词啦，再加上这个 dislike 在后面再加上一个 d 就可以成立了。比如说 his arrogant attitude is often disliked by his peers who find his condescending tone off-putting 就是 可是 condescending 就是会给人家觉得好像你比别人厉害的感觉 and I really hate that so much 所以有时候我们不喜欢英雄是因为他们太完美了因为不可能 I think it's so hard to be perfect it's impossible to be perfect
Yeah, and I don't know, sometimes like I think people who try to show that they're really, really perfect for me, sometimes it comes off as a little bit annoying because
me too.
I think everybody, makes mistakes. Everybody has their own flaws. So stop trying to correct me stop trying to correct me and try to make me look perfect. You can do your thing, but I'm just going to do my stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, the article then says, on the other hand, many bad guys have stories that show they're not perfect, okay?So on the other hand is a phrase we can use to point out a contrasting point of view, fact, or situation. So it's just to kind of show maybe on the other side if we think about it in another way.
所以 on the other hand 就是另一方面那在这边也看到这边今天的文法我们赶快来看一下。所以我们今天的 language and focus 要讲的是关系代名词的限定跟非限定的用法。那么关代包含哪一些呢 ？That, who, whom, whose, which。那么关代呢？它兼具代名词跟连接词的作用所以它不只可以去代替前面出现的名词，就是先行词，它也可以连接主要子句跟关系子句。那这个关系子句又称为形容词子句而且关代它又可以分为非限定跟限定。限定用法呢，就是先行词不明确，所以就必须呢以限定关系子句去限缩先行词指涉的范围，让这个指涉的对象更清楚。所以比如说 He is the person who won the award last year 他是去年赢得奖项的那一个人，我们在讲这个人嘛。或者是说 She is the woman whose car broke down on the highway yesterday 她是昨天在高速公路上车子抛锚的那个女人。所以在这一个例句中whose 限定了 woman 的身份，指出她的车子抛锚了。那么如果是非限定用法的话呢，因为先行词的状况是明确的，就没有必要再去限缩先行词指涉的对象。所以呢，这个非限定关系子句的作用就在于补充说明先行词，所以你即使拿掉它的关系子句，其实也不会去影响原来的意思但是注意呢，主要子句和关系子句就必须以逗号隔开。比如说 The house we visited last week which has a beautiful garden is for sale 所以我们这个 which has a beautiful garden 就是在形容这个 house 所以上周参观的房子有美丽的花园，现在是正在出售。所以非限定关系子句中呢，我们不可以用 that 来作为关系代名词所以也不会有 that 取代 who which 的情形。OK， 所以 on the other hand 就是另一方面嘛，所以另一方面我们会喜欢这些坏人，是因为他们的故事有时候会有一些瑕疵，他们不是很完美的人。
All right, so let's continue reading. The article says, because we also make mistakes, we can understand them. I think that's why I sympathize with villains a little bit more,
And it's like you feel like that if you were them, you could be doing the same thing.
Probably, right? Because we can't be perfect all the time.
对，就是犯错呢，我们也会犯错。人都we're human beings. We make mistakes. 所以我们就会去了解这些坏蛋为什么会想要这些行为。
Next it says, these days, some villains have their own movies. Okay, we see the phrase these days, and it just means right now, at the moment, or at present.For example, you can say, I'm feeling really lazy these days. I don't want to leave my couch. Okay. Or you can even say, the weather has been amazing these days. Okay.
所以就是现在如今 these days 就是现在如今的意思。所以因为呢，可能大家都很喜欢反派的关系，现在反派他们有自己的电影
For example, there's Maleficent, which is about the evil fairy from Sleeping Beauty.And Joker, which is about Batman's enemy. Okay, both are really good movies. Okay, let's first take a look at the word fairy. Fairy is a noun, and this is mainly used in stories, like fairy tales. So it's a creature, like a small person who has maybe magic powers. If you remember the story of Peter Pan, there's a tiny fairy called Tinkerbell. And yes, of course, since it's fiction, fairies sometimes don't always have to be very tiny.But for example, in Sleeping Beauty, we can see that Maleficent is a taller fairy. She's a normal human-sized fairy, but generally in stories, fairies are really small, cute little like people with like magic powers. Here we can use fairy in a sentence like this. Many children believe in putting their tooth underneath their pillows for the tooth fairy to find.
所以这个 fairy 就是精灵或仙子的意思，所以小朋友都会去相信有这些东西嘛，你就可以说 Children often believe in fairies and magic， 或者是说像仙女一样 to be like a fairy， 比如说 She floated across the stage like a fairy。所以有这些坏蛋的电影还有什么？就是黑魔女、沉睡魔咒的邪恶仙女，或者是小丑中的蝙蝠侠的敌人，都是这些例子。
We also saw the word enemy here. Enemy is a noun and it is a person who hates somebody or acts or speaks against somebody or something, okay? Another word for enemy is foe. Sometimes people might ask you, are you a friend or a foe? Meaning, are you a friend or are you an enemy? Here we can use enemy in a sentence like this. They used to be best friends in elementary school, but they are now sworn enemies. So they don't like each other now.
所以 enemy 呢就是敌人或仇人的意思，所以把谁变成自己的敌人，你就可以说 to make an enemy of. He made an enemy of his former ally by betraying him. 他就背叛了他的好朋友，以前的同盟好朋友，然后就变成敌人了，或被视为敌人。我们如果用被动式，大家就记得 be 动词加上 ed 在后面的动词。比如说 in a war, anyone from the opposing side is considered an enemy.
Okay, next, the article says, although we would never do what these villains do, we're still curious about them. Yes, we don't have magic powers to do them, so.
但是就是因为他们就是很 mysterious, 然后就会很喜欢，很好奇他们会干嘛。
Next it says, they let us explore our complicated selves in a safe way. So we see the word self here. It's a noun and it means the type of person you are, especially the way you normally behave, look, or feel. For example, we can say Oliver had a cold, so he was not feeling his usual happy self today.
所以 self 本身这个字就是有自我啦、自己的意思。我们常常都会说让自己更进步。You can say to improve oneself. He is constantly striving to improve himself, seeking personal growth and development in all aspects of his life. 代表他是一直很想要努力让自己进步。或者是当你自己啊，你也可以说 be oneself。Be oneself 就是做自己的意思。比如说 don't try to be someone else, just be yourself.The key is to be genuine and happy. 所以呢，我们这些坏蛋啊，电影里面的坏蛋是用一种很安全的方式让我们去探索自己，我们复杂的自我。
That's the great thing about movies and stories is you or the writers sometimes create all these like really complicated characters and we either love them or hate them. And this is why it's so much fun. All right, now that brings us to our For You chat question for today.Who do you think is the most interesting villain from a movie, book, or game? Why?
The one that I mentioned, there's so many. Negan from The Walking Dead, because he kills so many people.
Okay, let's go. Spoiler. Okay, I really like there's this movie called Inglourious Bastards.
Okay.
There's a character in there called Hans Landa, and basically this movie is about like, you know, the Nazis and World War II, but done in a really fun way, in a more like kind of modern way, like, well, what happened if things like that happened? But Hans Landa, I think, is such a good villain in the movie. Like when you're watching the movie and you're sitting at home or even in the movie theater, you also feel the fear that the actor gives you. And I just think, wow
that's so amazing.
Yes, that's one of my favorite movies. And I think he's one of my favorite villains. And I don't know, I have a lot. I love like, you know, Darth Vader. I love some of the Marvel villains as well, because I think they're just like so fun and it's kind of like they're lighthearted villains.
Yeah.
Joker was a good one.
Oh yeah,
gosh,
that
there's
one
so
too.
many.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys can think about it like, who is your favorite villain? Do you guys like villains? And if you do, like, who is your favorite one? You can definitely share with your friends or share with us. Yeah?
所以听完今天的节目呢，如果还学得不够尽兴的话，也欢迎到我们的空中家教跟老师练习哦。
All right, so don't forget to listen. And if you like us, of course, follow us and listen to us even more. But that's all the time that we have for today. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review. Quality. Peter has many great qualities, including being very smart, kind, and good at sports. Admire. Nelson admires his mother greatly, and he wants to become a doctor just like her. Dislike. Ethan dislikes talking on the phone. He prefers to speak to people in person. Fairy. In this story, a fairy makes a toy rabbit's wish come true and turns him into a real rabbit. Enemy. Ben and Robert were once friends, but now they are enemies and won't talk to each other. Self. Sometimes we hide our real selves because we're afraid of what others might think.
智慧小补帖
Villain. Complicated,